Hey, what's happening everyone? SirJames from Gamerfuzion.com, and in today's video I'm here to provide you with my review for Eagle Flight on the PlayStation VR system. Now pretty much to give you an idea of what the game is about is actually very simplistic. First off, there is an online multiplayer which involves basically like a capture the flag type mode, and of course there's also a story mode presented into the game, and basically the story mode involves a bird's life, or you are basically playing the game through the concept of course an eagle, and you're going through this whole life cycle, what's going to be involved, what kind of threats that you're going to be having to face, and all this takes place basically in Paris. So pretty much you get to roam the skies, do all kinds of different activities, but that's basically what the main concept of the game is about. Now the first thing that I want to go ahead and talk about is the graphics, and my gosh, this game happens to be beautiful no matter what I was doing in game, no matter where I traveled, even though the only location that you get to be in is basically Paris. But no matter where I was flying to, whether it be above the trees and the buildings or below, making my way maneuvering through the branches or exploring underground caves and passageways, just everything about this game was absolutely amazing. Now one thing I do want to inform you is that from what I see when I have the VR headset on, and from what you guys see in terms of the recorded gameplay, we are actually having two different experiences here. One, not only of course being in the VR headset is going to give you the best perspective of the game, but you're also getting a little bit more to it, because when I have the headset on, I am technically seeing through both eyes of the eagle, and of course I also have a large beak in front of me. However, in the recorded gameplay footage, apparently you guys are only seeing it from the perspective of the left eye of the eagle, meaning that there's a visual point that you're currently missing out on, but that doesn't take away from the overall experience even if you're just a viewer. But again, this game is just beautiful no matter what took place, no matter what happened, and there's a lot to explore here, which I kind of wish there's more locations to visit, but I could see why they only limited it to only being in Paris. But I would like to see more locations, maybe as a future title for, maybe an Eagles Flight 2 or something. Next up, I want to go ahead and talk about the gameplay, and the gameplay here is actually a lot of fun, but there's two things that I need to address here. First off, if you happen to have neck problems, then this is a game that you might want to miss out on, or at least take it easy with. The second thing is that if you are planning on picking up the game, try to get involved with the game as much as possible. What I mean here is that if you're planning on getting the game, but you're going to try to remain stationary as much as possible and not try to move your body as much, you're not going to have a great time. If you actually get involved with the game and basically try to move your body and mimic what you're doing in game, then I feel that initial part, that initial experience I should say, at least for me, that is going to get you invested and give you a lot more enjoyment in comparison if you're just trying to sit still and try to do basic movements and that's about it. First off, pretty much if we're going to go ahead and talk about the single player aspect. The single player aspect actually involves about 5 different chapters which you could progress in, and it's basically about your life as an eagle when you first hatch all the way to the very end, which I won't spoil what happens in that portion. But what's nice is that as you progress into the story mode, you'll get access to different abilities and tactics that you could use in game, which may not correspond to real life, but for a video game concept works out quite well. For example, you have your Screech ability, which basically allows you to shoot down enemies in air. Of course, it's going to be the main concept that you use, especially for the online multiplayer, which is kind of like capture the flag but involving eggs and nests. And of course, not only that, you have other abilities like a shield barrier that you can use, which enemies will use, and a couple other abilities that I won't spoil here for you guys, but those are just kind of the couple main concepts here that you'll be utilizing in single player and of course the online multiplayer. The game does offer a lot of different challenges and collectibles in terms of stars, and if you are the type of player who is a completionist, then you're going to find an extreme high replay value for this game. Not only that, there's also different obstacles that you can take part in, races, and of course if you like to get involved with online leaderboards, then pretty much you're match made in heaven here, because you're going to find yourself quite busy for this title. As for the online multiplayer portion, it's actually very simple. It's more of a capture the egg type of scenario where you have to go and capture the objective and bring it back to your nest, but you also have to be careful because you have other players that are trying to shoot you down. Even though there's a lot of things to do in the single player aspect, there's still at least a couple things to do in the online multiplayer to invest your time and to try to get that $40 price tag that you paid for this title. Now, going over the sound aspect for this title, I have no complaints here, and the sound department is actually very simplified. In this case, you do have a little bit of narrative that takes place in the game, so anything that involves a cinematic moment, you're going to hear a narrator talk, and honestly, his voice was easygoing, calm, and basically it was nice to listen to be honest. It was the type of voice that you'll like to listen to, especially if he was reading you a book or something. And of course, not only that, he also speaks when a mission is about to begin, trying to give you the basic example of what's going on here, or this is the type of threat that is happening and this is what you kind of need to do in order to set things right. And of course, not only that, let us not forget the soundtrack. The music in this game is just absolutely amazing, from the opening moments when you begin the game with the tutorial level all the way to the very end, whether it's the online multiplayer, the after credits, and of course there's also a free roam option, so if you just want to soar the skies and kind of do whatever or practice your maneuvers. Again, the soundtrack in this game is absolutely amazing, to the point where I would easily buy the soundtrack by itself. Now, going over the game's lifespan, this game definitely has a huge, and I mean a huge, replay value. There was a lot of things to do in the game. I mean, yes, and true, the story mode is only 5 different chapters, which is about 24 or 25 different levels to partake in, but that doesn't mean that's where your activity ends. There's a lot of things to do. Again, there's the online multiplayer aspect that you can do, or involving the single player aspect, that's where you're going to get the most replay value, because there's a lot of activities to do. Basically, every time you do a mission, you have a chance to get up to 3 stars. 3 stars is considered the max. So if you happen to complete the game, but there's a few missions back there that you've only gotten 2 stars, well, it's good to go back and try to compete that. And of course, especially if you love online leaderboards, then you're going to find a lot of records here that you want to try to beat to put yourself on the very top of the leaderboards. So again, a lot of involvement there. Not only that, there's also these challenge modes that you can unlock as well, and there's certain ones that you can't really do yet until you've collected a certain number of stars. So again, there's a reason why you want to try to gather all 3 stars, so you can unlock the new challenge modes. By completing those, you can unlock more and more that involves in the initial game. Now, on that, you also have a couple different types of collectibles, so meaning that you want to try to get 100%. I mean, the way this pans out kind of reminds me of Assassin's Creed in a way, where you have different zones and different activities to do, and after you mastered all that, you could actually move on to the next zone. So if you kind of like things like that, then that's what I would compare it to, is something like Assassin's Creed in a way. But again, a lot of replay value here, so you're initially going to get your money's worth at this point. Now, as for the innovation, it's really hard to compare this game to basically anything out in the market, at least based on what I played alone, because most of the VR games to date that involve any type of flying aspect happens to be in outer space. But here in this game, you are basically an eagle, and honestly, I felt like this is one of those like Zen type games, like something that you can play and try to get some relaxation. So something that you want to play to ease your mind. That's how I would easily compare this game to, the Zen types. If you like games like Journey, for example, on the PlayStation, then this is the type of game that you would also enjoy with a VR experience point of view. And overall, again, there's just a lot of things to do into the game. The online multiplayer is a lot of fun as well. And overall, I've actually had a great time with this title. The story was exciting, the amount of activities to do. It's really hard to kind of comprehend everything into such a short little review. If there's one thing that I do want to mention, is that definitely check out this game, rent it, buy it, whatever it is that you have to do to try to get your hands onto this title. It's definitely worth checking out. But if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below, and let us not forget, out of a score between 1 to 10, I'm easily going to give this game a 9 out of 10. The reason why I'm giving a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10 is because the only slight negative aspect, which again I was able to ignore but may not please most people, is that there is some pop-in issues in the game. What I mean by that is, as you're soaring, you're seeing basically structures and shrubs kind of load up as you get closer and closer. So there is that little small initial error, but if you can kind of ignore that and surpass that, again, you're going to have a great time. But again, if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.